Despite the rise of live service and multiplayer-focused titles, the past several years have been extremely good for single-player titles, from enormous role-playing games and open worlds to action-packed adventures. These are 30 of the best single-player games that you have to play. Disco Elysium: The Final Cut. One of the most acclaimed RPGs in years, Disco Elysium lets you embody a detective in whatever fashion you please. Choose from a variety of skills and select different dialogue, becoming a very effective liar or abusive jerk, and hone the ideas of the thought cabinet to receive different buffs and traits. The Final Cut adds full voice acting, new political vision quests, additional cutscenes and characters, and a new area to explore, along with various QOL improvements, improving even more on the base release. Metroid Dread. Samus, our hero, travels to planet ZDR to deal with rogue Emmy robots, hostile creatures, and what seem to be Chozo remnants, with an improved melee counter, new skills, and movement abilities. Hades. If Hades were just a great roguelite with stellar combat, environments, and boss design, that would have been more than enough. But it's also backed by some great writing, as Zagreus interacts with his father Hades and many other memorable characters across hundreds of conversations, progressing the story through each run, mixing and matching boons for some truly broken builds. The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. What hasn't already been said about The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild? It offers an expansive world filled with secrets, shrines, puzzles, and NPCs to encounter while giving you complete freedom to experience it as you'd like. Do you venture to the Gerudo Desert and attempt to free its beast? Perhaps you'll muck about, expanding your arsenal and upgrading health and stamina to survive longer. Maybe book it straight to Hyrule Castle and try to defeat Ganon with just 3 hearts. The choice is ultimately yours, and every turn offers something interesting to see. Horizon Zero Dawn. The story of a world that's regressed back to ancient times and becomes overrun with giant machines is one that's immediately engaging. The machines themselves offer Monster Hunter-esque battles as you indulge in the deep combat mechanics and attempt to survive. It's also a joy to explore the environments, venturing into strange cauldrons to overcome their challenges or scaling tall necks to map the area. Horizon Zero Dawn may not reinvent the wheel, but it's an incredible adventure all the same. Monster Hunter World. While Monster Hunter Rise will win over those who hated Iceborne, Monster Hunter World is a keeper. Along with bringing the franchise to PS4 and Xbox One, it offered large expansive environments, with unique hunting areas, ecology, and turf wars. Each of the new monsters, from the Lith Odogaron and brutish Anjanath to the overwhelming Nergiganti, made an impressive debut and fit well with mainstays like Rathalos and Diablos. If rewarding combat, memorable fights, and incredible spectacles are what you're after, then Monster Hunter World is a rewarding journey. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. Years and years of waiting had finally led to Final Fantasy VII being remade, and it scored in many departments. The revamped combat system, incredible visuals and music, the nostalgia factor with favorites like Cloud, Tifa, Aerith, and Barret looking better than ever. There's just so much to love. Intergrade further polishes all of this, adding high-quality textures throughout the game, including for the infamous door, volumetric fog, performance and quality modes, and the episode Intermission DLC with Yuffie, which offers its own bosses and unique mechanics. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Ratchet & Clank's latest adventure had to hit several goals, from being a solid 3D platformer to showcasing the power of the PS5 beyond great visuals. It excelled in both of these areas, offering a fun adventure which sees Ratchet, Clank, and Rivet battling Dr. Nefarious across multiple dimensions and planets. On the technology side, the console's SSD allowed for near-instant loading of entire levels, along with seamless texture streaming, offering a unique platforming experience with great combat, platforming, and exploration. Bloodborne. More than 6 years later, Bloodborne is still front and center of fans' minds. Whether it's in the demands for a sequel, remaster, or remake, there's a good reason why. On top of a compelling original setting steeped in cosmic horror, the decidedly more aggressive combat is responsive and engaging, Memorable bosses, transforming weapons, superb lore, and more all contribute to make it one of the very best games ever made. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Even following several open-world action-adventure titles like Days Gone and Horizon Zero Dawn on PS4, Ghost of Tsushima established its own identity. The depiction of Tsushima at war and of Jin Sakai, who's torn between honor and instinct, is masterfully handled with excellent stealth and combat mechanics. The director's cut adds the Iki Island expansion for even more compelling content with a new region and story missions, along with DualSense support and full Japanese lip-syncing on PS5. Lost Judgment. Takayuki Yagami returns for a darker tale in Lost Judgment, confronting major issues like bullying and harassment to solve an impossible murder. Of course, this is a Ryu ga Gotoku studio game, so on top of the addictive combat and sharp visuals, there are numerous activities to experience in the world, from dancing and skateboarding to stealth and boxing. There's a lot to uncover, or you could just forget it all and play Sega Master titles in Yagami's office. Animal Crossing: New Horizons. The feeling of socializing and interacting with your neighbors, fostering relationships that last to this day, is perfectly encapsulated in Animal Crossing: New Horizons. As the latest in Nintendo's life simulation series, players can decorate their home, fish, plant trees, hunt for bugs and fossils, craft items, and redeem Nook Miles for various rewards. Seasonal events add new items and some new mechanics, but the real joy is in developing and remaking the island to be your own comfy haven away from the world. God of War 2018. While staying true to a franchise is key, sometimes you just need to forge ahead with a completely fresh approach. God of War 2018 kicked off a brand new arc, in a completely different setting, leaning into Norse mythology while having an older, wiser Kratos and his son, Atreus, in the lead. Despite being more grounded, the combat was still fantastic, providing extensive combo potential and deep mechanics, while the exploration and storytelling were top-notch. For all intents and purposes, it was a more mature, refined God of War, but one that didn't forget its roots. Resident Evil 2 2019. Resident Evil 2, a remake of a PS1 classic, is a celebration of the franchise's survival horror formula. Utilizing the original's framework, it features many of the same environments and characters while adding new mechanics like Mr. X, and an over-the-shoulder perspective on top of gorgeous visuals. After the underwhelming Resident Evil 6 and the return to survival horror in Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, Resident Evil 2 was exactly what longtime fans needed. Resident Evil Village. While Resident Evil 7 was a slower burn, Resident Evil Village hit the ground running. The gunplay had been improved significantly, and roller coaster-like pacing was intense as Ethan ventured across the titular village. Battling Lycans, sure, not every twist made the most sense, but it was still a thrilling ride from start to finish. Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 2 serves as a prequel to the first game, following Arthur Morgan and the Vanderlyn gang's slow destruction. In terms of open-world scale, it took everything from the first game and expanded on it significantly. Greater attention to detail, more involved side missions and activities, and an almost agonizing emphasis on realism. The combat may not have appealed to everyone, but the story, with its characters and tragic outcomes, made it worth the trip and then some. Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. From Software's most recent title isn't a dungeon crawler or an action RPG, but a brutal action-adventure that mixed stealth with rhythm game-like combat sequences. As a shinobi wolf, players must rescue Kuro, whose blood contains the dragon's heritage. Along with Resurrection, Wolf has a prosthetic arm for grappling and deploying shinobi tools, though much of the combat is focused on striking, parrying, and breaking an opponent's posture to deal a decisive strike. As unforgiving as it can be, the world building and art direction, coupled with the responsive combat, make this worth the pain. Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain. While reactions to its story were mixed, Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain scores highly in the gameplay department, having multiple points of entry for sneaking, utilizing AI companions to either snipe enemies from afar or provide fire support, and using the Fulton to send soldiers, materials, and even animals to bolster Mother Base rarely gets old. If experimenting in a stealth sandbox sounds like fun, then the Phantom Pain will keep you coming back again and again. Dark Souls 3. The climactic end to the Souls series, Dark Souls 3 offers the most polished gameplay yet, with a hefty variety of weapons, armor, and items for all kinds of builds. Familiar environments like Anor Londo coincide with gorgeous new locales like Irithyll of the Boreal Valley, and most of the bosses provide some incredible encounters. As a send-off and the most mechanically enjoyable title in the series, Dark Souls 3 is top-notch. 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. Part visual novel-style adventure with extensive conversations, part real-time with pause mech tactics battle, there is nothing quite like 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim. It offers 13 unique protagonists whose stories, motivations, and relationships intertwine, unique mechanics and approaches to the plot for each, and an overarching mystery that becomes more mind-blowing as time goes on, aided by Vanillaware's best artwork till date. Whether you're a sci-fi fan or appreciate a good narrative, this should not be skipped. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. CD Projekt Red's magnum opus combines a massive world with an exceptional story and dozens of incredible side stories. Geralt's journey to locate Ciri, battling the Wild Hunt and other threats, is reinforced by some incredible writing and characterization. Combat, while not exceptional, is still pretty fun, and there are a number of different potions, Witcher sets, explosives, and more to experiment with. Persona 5 Royal. Atlus's biggest RPG yet gets even bigger with Persona 5 Royal. The base game already offered dozens of hours of story content on top of a bombastic presentation and incredible music. Royal expands on this even further, adding a number of new features and content, including a third semester, a new party member in Kasumi, new locations, including a new palace, and ultimate personas. It's a lot to dive into and well worth the time spent. The Last of Us Part 2. A controversial yet epic adventure, The Last of Us Part 2 focuses on Ellie as she embarks on a journey for revenge. Gameplay-wise, the action is more responsive, delivering more fluid combat and movement, while the more open environments offer more to explore. And since this is a Naughty Dog title, the visuals and music are also top-notch. It's the story that's the main draw, though, as it explores the extreme ramifications of revenge. Half-Life ALYX. This isn't Valve's first foray into VR content, but Half-Life ALYX does represent the first real Half-Life title since Half-Life 2 Episode 2 in 2007. Alex Vance is the protagonist this time, traveling through City 17's quarantine zone to save her father. Fighting the Combine is on the agenda, but the slower pace means that Alex will also solve puzzles, use her gravity gloves to outwit foes, and even survive a stealth encounter with Jeff to succeed. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. In almost every way, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is an improvement over its predecessor. Combat has been reworked and includes more melee-centric abilities. The visuals are now fully 3D with multi-layered environments, and the annoying save system is gone in favor of traditional checkpoints. Meanwhile, everything that worked, from the stellar Metroidvania gameplay to the gorgeous aesthetic, is still here and better than ever. Gears 5. Following the safer Gears of War 4, the Coalition took steps to advance the series' cover-based shooting formula in Gears 5. More open environments and optional side content made for some interesting exploration off the beaten path, and the story was fairly compelling despite the cliffhanger ending. There's also the return of Horde and a new game mode, Escape, wherein players must fight their way out of a swarm hive. Demon's Souls 2020. Innovative yet unforgiving, Demon's Souls would set the groundwork for Dark Souls and the Souls-like genre for years. Bluepoint Games' remake is fairly straightforward, with gorgeous next-gen visuals which look amazing on the PS5. Environments and effects are also more complex, but pretty much every gameplay nuance, boss fight, and difficult mechanic is intact. Even if more contemporary titles like Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 are preferred, Demon's Souls is worth experiencing for its familiar combat and production values. Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered. Insomniac's Spider-Man delivered an experience that really makes you feel, among other things, like a contemporary web-slinger, swinging through gorgeously rendered Manhattan and taking out criminals with super fluid combat. Building off of Sunset Overdrive's superb movement, it provides some fun side content and a memorable story, while the remastered edition adds improved visuals, ray tracing, a new face for Peter Parker, and more suits. In terms of Marvel titles, it doesn't get any better than this. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Nathan Drake's final adventure, and it's his most epic one yet. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End does a few things differently from its predecessors, with more open environments and a narrative that initially centers on the consequences of Drake's actions. However, the incredible set pieces and platforming, along with excellent cinematics and pacing, are at the forefront as well. Not quite at the level of Among Thieves, A Thief's End comes real close and offers a satisfying send-off to our hero. Control. Searching for her younger brother Dylan, Jesse Faden arrives at the Central Bureau of Control, aka the Oldest House. From there, it's a surreal dive into the supernatural as Jesse becomes the new director and must root out the otherworldly hiss. Combining psychokinetic powers like telekinesis and levitation with satisfying gunplay, Control offers a Metroidvania-like structure with numerous challenges to complete over the course of a fun campaign. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on Gaming Bolt.